Definitely worth my time. This is the opposite of Apple TV's Palm Royale. This show was completely great.
It's kind of horrifying, the fact that we all could be living under our roofs with someone or something like this.
Yes.
And that's kind of what makes him so terrifying, is there wasn't some supernatural event. It wasn't a fall into a vat of ace chemical acid that formed him, or a Maroni throwing acid on his face and scarring half of it. It was just nature.
Yeah.
It was just his nature that made him this way.
Welcome back to the Breakroom, where no matter who you are, you're welcome on this journey. Okay, I'm Zach Huddleston, and joining me today to discuss the Penguin season finale and the season overall, we've got Brandon Barrick, Comic Accurate, and Erik Voss.
Don't blame the maid on me, girl. What's the song?
Put the blame on me, babe.
There it is. Yeah.
Put the blame on me.
No, Brandon!
Full spoilers ahead if that didn't already ruin it for you.
Why would you click on this video?
No, they wouldn't. But
It auto-played.
that's right. First question. Now, this is in the prompter, though it's very obvious. Should people be watching this show?
Yeah, like if you haven't watched it already, right? Like non-spoiler thoughts, like was this show worth it as a watch?
100%.
Most definitely.
I can't think of something more worth it.
Definitely worth my time. This is the opposite of Apple TV's Palm Royale. This show was completely great. Every episode was excellent. And it was worth the watch 100%.
Is that our new barometer
Yes.
for TV success?
The
Better
other
or
end is
worse?
Palm Royale. No offense. Actually, tons of offense to everyone who allowed that to happen.
I think this show is great. I think it's also, somebody was just asking in the comments of yesterday's video about Andor, and like, hey, if I'm not caught up on other Star Wars stuff, or I don't watch that much other Star Wars stuff, can I watch Andor? 100% yes, that's actually the perfect show for you to watch. I think this is the perfect show if you know nothing about the Batman Rogues Gallery. You didn't even watch the Matt Reeves Batman. You don't really need to have watched it to understand this movie. In fact, you might be a little confused about how John Turturro turned into Mark Strong. But
Technically, Mark Strong turned into John Turturro.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
He aged into it.
Correct. But I think this show is probably for everybody, unless you get a little turned off by violence and profanity and people behaving poorly. But I think otherwise, if you like good TV, if you enjoyed The Sopranos, if you enjoyed Breaking Bad, if you enjoyed the Watchmen series on HBO, like, I think you'll love this.
Yeah, I think it's been the best show on TV in 2024, right? Has anything come close? The Bears season 3 was a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, you
House of
put
the
it-
Dragon was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fine. It reached some really high highs, but like it definitely had the thing about the Penguin. The reason I think it was so good, I think we all agree, is like we kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like we kept waiting for at some point there's gonna be an episode that's not good, and it just got better and better as it went, and it's just such a nice feeling.
It was, and I think like in contrast to a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel shows that also have lots of high highs, and a lot of those shows are really great, they almost always have some uneven episodes where it's like they were trying to tell a really good season arc, but because there's one or two in the middle that just like don't work on their own. I think like this show, which was released weekly, like in classic TV fashion, right, over 8 episodes, every episode works.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shows they love the kind of puzzle box idea, right? And some of them do it very successfully. Agatha All Along, I think, did a great job with its puzzle box of a few mysteries, explaining those mysteries, showing you how they got to them, revealing them at great moments in a fun way. So a show like The Acolyte had a lot of mysteries. I don't think told them as well or explained them as well or even resolved all of them that you wanted resolved, right? This show did not have a mystery box premise, but it kind of has mysteries in it that get revealed and you're like, oh, and it really does a great job of subverting expectations constantly. Like for me, one of my favorite things was the reveal that like the hangman was not the hangman. The hangman hadn't committed any of the crimes that she'd been accused of. And like she knew it and like 4 or 5 other people knew it. And everyone else was just afraid of her. And like that was so smart and really subverted expectations from the comics. Because if you read The Long Halloween, right, you thought she was the hangman, and you thought her brother also was a killer, and none of that was true in this story. So it's very fun. Very fun.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about the Christina Milioti performance and her performance as Sophia, and I mean, so much. And obviously, the Oz Cobb of it all.
I mean, okay, incredible. Just incredible work, Michael.
Evan.
Just a few points I want to jump off while we're here. Bummin' with Bo in the chat saying the psych hospital stuff turned me away from the show. Seeing reviews discussing a character being institutionalized against their will, that didn't appeal to me. I think it's a very interesting point. It's very valid, but I do think what they did with that episode, I think really speaks to probably what is turning you off from that. As a kind of broad statement, right?
Yeah, it didn't feel like degradation porn.
Yeah.
In the way some of these shows do feel.
Yes.
You know, some of these movies can feel like, oh, we're going to trap someone in an institution and we're just going to see them suffer. Shutter Island feels like that sometimes.
The Night of. You remember? Did you watch that HBO show with Riz Ahmed? The long arc there,
Amazing
set in a
show.
prison that was harder to watch than this was.
Yeah, I mean, Shawshank Redemption is very much a story about that. But like, that's why the catharsis of Shawshank Redemption feels so exhilarating, is because you see the redemption, you see him escaping, and I believe the catharsis is the same in episode 3 of The Penguin when Kristen Milioti, just by the end of that hour, is able to turn the tables and reclaim her power. I just thought that was such like I mean, such violence in this show, but they understood. I don't think they ever made you feel good about the violence, unless it was like Sophia Falcone gassing the house. But like, you understand,
Some like those were just like wives, though. It felt like
and bodyguards,
necessarily.
they knew who they were
employees.
sharing. They knew who was paying the piper. Anyway, I think like we kept waiting for Oz to have his Michael Scott moment where he's actually a sweetheart, and they never gave it to us. And by the end, you realize he's not a good guy, and he's perhaps one of the most evil characters we've seen in like superhero IP on TV or film, right?
And that's a great pivot point to talk about the finale specifically, right? And I think like this show did a really nice job repeatedly, making us, if not sympathize, at certain times rooting for Oz. Certainly when he gets himself into a jam and he uses his great speeches or his connections or whatever to work himself out of a jam, that is an inherently pleasing thing to watch, right? That's what we love about Walter White. He gets himself into impossible situations and he manages to get out of them. And like, that's certainly like this version of the Penguin's superpower. He can literally get out of any jam. He knows how to work people. He knows how to play every angle. And this show kept getting him in all these bad jams. And so because of that, even if he's doing bad things, he's screwing people over, he's killing people, whatever, we keep rooting for him right up until the end where like he gets himself out of the biggest jam possible. He does it in kind of this triumphant way. And then he reminds you, I am a nasty, bad man, right?
It was so wild. I mean, in that finale, the fact that it's not a big battle at the end, really, the big battle between Sophia and Oz is this game of like, will you be honest that you murdered your brothers, or I'm gonna cut your mom's finger off? And he won't do it. And like the look on her face of like, I cannot even believe this situation. Like, she can't believe the little amount of integrity that Oz has, that he would allow his mom's finger to get sliced off with a cigar cutter rather than just admit to her the truth. And like, that's why, I mean, just like that being the final battle, a weird psychological battle like that, instead of just like some gunfire or some, kind of inane thing like that, just so much better than I expected it to be. Like, very impressive and, incredible acting all around. But yeah, this weird, just kind of multi-episode reveal of who Oz really is. And like, is it his mom that made him? Is it him that made him? Was he always going to be evil? Like, these kind of questions still exist by the end of the show. But to see the damage that has been done, and the one thing that Oz had in his life, his mom, was taken away from him, and that she'll never look at him the same way again, never speak to him again. Like, just insane. Just like really well done. Really well done.
Yes. I mean, they did such a nice job kind of showing us the nuances of his character and kind of the depth of his drive and his selfishness and his ambition. And they didn't do a bunch of stuff too that I think is interesting. We never find out why he has the scars.
No.
We don't spend any time about the origin of his disability. Even when we see him as a child, he's already there. They don't really talk about it. I mean, it's constantly referenced, but like, you know, there's no like flashback to him being in a hospital bed as a youth, or like, you know, talks of his disability or whatever, right? Like, so how interesting that like, even though we see him as whatever he is, a 10-year-old in those flashbacks, like he's actually already formed for the most part as the Penguin, even as that kid. Right?
Like when they're walking down the street and they run into Rex and he sees the money, he almost goes like, "Oh!" It's just like,
and it's
also
also
like Susie sees the cash. She's like, "This is what I want to do with my life."
It's also wild. The show definitely takes the tact of like, you know, maybe there's a little nature, a little nurture, but like his two brothers aren't like that.
Right.
His mom wasn't like that, though I guess she was a bookkeeper for the mob, so there's a little taste of it in his neighborhood.
I mean, his older brother, Jack, is in the junior ROTC and presumably going to go into the military and be like a good dude. He immediately is, he's clocking that what Frances is doing is wrong, that she's being used by Rex, but also like, you can tell that he's thinking like, this is not a good guy to be involved with. And I got to get my brothers out of this situation. And he gets drowned for his efforts. You know what I mean?
Evan literally popping in to say that we wanted to thank one of our sponsors today, Dollar Shave Club. If you've ever wanted people to greet you by saying, "Hey, handsome, nice face you shaved there," then you need Dollar Shave Club's high quality but never overpriced shave and grooming products. Want a closer shave? Use Shave Butter, a translucent shaving cream alternative that softens bristly whiskers and allows you to see exactly where you're shaving. We were talking about it on the show yesterday, and why hadn't this been invented already? You need to see where you're gonna shave, and that sounds great. You can also use their Club Series 6-blade razor and Club Series Diamond Grip handle for an incredibly close, smooth shave. The diamond pattern grip on the handle will give you super precise control, so you can finally nail that Doctor Strange look that you've been going for. You've also got the double header trimmer here. It's got a nice little grip on the back, and also you press this power button, it tells you how much battery life you got left. So, you know, you're never guessing, and you can charge it up when you need to charge it up. Don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more, and get more products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/breakroom and use promo code breakroom for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome. All right, popping out, back to the show.
What makes him the Penguin, what makes him a villain, is not his the way he walks. It's not the scars on his face. It's not any like life of oppression like in the Tim Burton Batman Returns. Or
his mom wasn't attacked by penguins when she was pregnant with him.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have been abused. He did have kind of a fascination. It's just like the same things that drive every American who grew up in that kind of environment but just taken to the extreme of a neediness, is what Frances calls it. A desire, a kind of worship of a criminal lifestyle, but specifically just kind of a selfishness and like a need to be an only child. Like, it's kind of horrifying, the fact that we all could be living under our roofs with someone or something like this.
Yes.
And that's kind of what makes him so terrifying, is there wasn't some supernatural event. It wasn't a fall into a vat of ace chemical acid that formed him, or a Maroni throwing acid on his face and scarring half of it. It was just nature.
Yeah.
It was just his nature that made him this way.
And it's so much so
cool.
that he was, I mean, like, he sold out Sophia just to get a little bit further ahead in the organization and get the Iceberg Lounge and all that, right? And presumably he'd been her driver for some amount of time. They kind of had a nice, almost like father-daughter relationship. She clearly kind of looked up to him, not looked up to him, but like
trusted him,
enjoyed his care and like friendship that she's not getting from her father, defends him when his brother's making fun of him and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, he turns her in for 10 years. She does time. And when she confronts him on it, it was like, it was worth it, okay?
Yeah.
I got a fucking club out of it, all right? And it's like, this guy is great.
Also, it's like a tact. It also makes you wonder, another great thing about Oz's character, he's an unreliable narrator.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
You see him lie to people and immediately betray them and say the opposite to somebody else, right? Like, so even when he says, when you're a guy like me, you got to do everything you can to get ahead. Is he even being honest then? Is that more just like, I wanted to do that? I'm a inherently selfish person. It has nothing to do with when you're a guy like me, and it's more just like I justify my behavior on some kind of arbitrary moral ground, right?
Yeah. because he'll constantly pivot, even when like his situation with Sophia was going well. We're gonna sell mushrooms together. It's gonna be great. And then as soon as Maroney's just showed up, he's like, fuck that. Yeah, you can kill her. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it almost feels horrifying to look back at this season and to realize both Oz and Francis knew the entire time. Both of them.
Yeah.
They just didn't know that each other knew. Oz didn't know that Francis knew. But like this whole romanticized memory he has of his mom taking him to Monroe's and putting on the dress and be like, come on, kid, we're going out. And that was like the first time when she finally softened after his brother's death. Just to realize that was her nearly sending him off with his hero Rex Calabrese to kill this boy, this Damien from The Omen. Like that's like she wanted to kill her other son, and that's just how he remembers this whole show. Every time they talked about their past, every time they spooned or danced together, that was in their minds. This whole thing.
That whole sequence is wild too, because it literally leads right. Because the episode before we saw them dancing at Monroe's, and that's where she's kind of breaking down, and she's like, "You gotta take care of me because I deserve that right. I deserve the best." He's like, "You got it, Ma. I promise you, I'll take care of you."
And we don't know what her motivation is for saying that at the time.
And then the next episode, they show us the conversation right before it, where she was about to like flush him down the toilet with Rex, and it was like, that's Oz's superpower. He knows when to make a speech, even when he doesn't know he needs to make a speech. The fact that he's sitting at that table and like, I'm gonna get to go home with Rex later, that's great. Just one thing you should know, Ma, I will love you more than anyone else in this world, and I see you for you. I'm gonna take care of you. Okay, should I hop in the car with Rex now? And she's like, no, baby.
Well, I mean, again, one of his powers is he's a master manipulator. And to be able to do that, you have to read people and like, what do you need to hear in this moment? Whether that's talking to, the Link or to Vic or to his mom, right? He sees like, oh, you're on the breaking point. I can pull you over in my direction in this moment. Yeah, Evan.
Kind of in that vein, Spidey Sensei 72 also getting a lot of great questions from the chat. Just shout out to the chat. A lot of great questions.
Apologies, we won't get to any of them. Kidding.
Spidey Sensei 72 asking, so was everything with Rex a lie, like all the stories? Because Rex seemed to ignore him when his brother delivered the books. Yeah, do you think there's a little bit of like re-narrativization going on when we hear about Rex?
Well, I think we're to assume, at least I assumed in watching, that like after that flashback night at Monroe's, up until the point when we meet the Penguin in the Batman movie, right? Like he probably joins Rex's gang for a period.
Yeah,
maybe
it's
he bounces
kind
around,
of like
right?
plan A that Rex had presented, where it's like, hey, a guy like that can be very successful because he's got no moral compass and he'll kill a bunch of people if you train him, or I can go kill him. They went with plan B first, but then they had to pivot. So yeah, I take it that he like worked with Rex.
Or I mean, I guess we don't know.
Got into the system that way.
He tells the story in the pilot about like, Rex died and they threw a parade in his honor or whatever, right? So we don't know. That could also happen 3 weeks after the night at Monroe's or something.
And he also, I think he says like Rex died of like a heart attack too. I mean, like Oz could have killed Rex at some point. Yeah. And like his whole thing is like Rex was great, everyone loved him. He died of a heart attack, unfortunately, but they threw a parade for him. That might have been him throwing a parade for him.
Like, hey, I mean, his brothers got swallowed up by the city.
Yeah. When he first started talking about Rex Calabrese, or at least the second time, because he first talks about him with Alberto, and then he brings him back up later with Vic. It honestly felt like typical like good old days talking. People always look at the past with rose-tinted glasses, and this is especially true like in stories like Sopranos, where everyone just feels like they're born too late and they wish that like the mafia could work like it did back in the 50s and 60s when they grew up and there was a code and so he was even talking about like he drove a golden car, like a chariot. The way he was talking about it almost felt like romanticizing, and even the origin of the term romanticizing. It did not look like it was that nice. And even the brother says it was just paint. Yeah. Whereas the youngest brother was like, is it actual gold? And
can we play Dungeons and Dragons now? You can play Sleep with the Fishes now, is what you can play.
No! Oh no!
He's dead.
They did have the gurgling sound effect with the kids, and it was horrifying.
How did the cops even know to go down there and look? That's never covered.
That's usually where they count all their stolen money. Hey, we're going to the money tunnel, everybody. Whoa! Who left some dead kids in the money tunnel?
Let's talk about Kristen Milioti as Sophia Falcone. Huge. Maybe not a surprise, but definitely I think it's like, whoa, she is like commanding the screen here. I love this question from Alicia VP, and please, we can talk more about Kristen and her performance, but do you think Oz or Sophia was more the protagonist of this season?
That's a good question, because I would argue Oz is the protagonist.
Yes.
He is the main driver of the story, and we see most of the story through his eyes, right? Now, the problem with Oz is, like, everything's an antagonist to Oz, because everything's constantly in his way. And I think Sophia's kind of presented as the main antagonist, but their roles almost flip a little bit. I don't know. It's a good question, because a protagonist is not always a hero, necessarily. Mm-hmm. They're just, like, your main character driving the story. And Matt Reeves has said, like, when asked, like, why isn't Batman in this series? And his whole thing is, like, the Batman movie is through the eyes of Batman. You see a little bit through Riddler's eyes, but it's mostly through Batman's eyes and so, like Selena Kyle's eyes a little bit. But he's the main character driving the story. In Penguin, the main character is Oz, and he's driving the story. We see a little bit through Sophia's eyes, through her flashback, but it's mainly Oz's story. But I definitely think he's the protagonist, but he's also the villain. And I think this is what all of these villain stories don't get right, where they're like, their villains are not the villains of the movie or the show. They are the protagonist, and there's usually an antagonist who's in their way that they have to defeat.
Yes.
And yes, they may be the villain of a character we know that's not in that project, but in that project, they are not the villain. But this show, it was an actual villain staying a villain.
I also think, like, this show does a great job of, maybe with the exception of Vic, who, though, is, we meet him committing a crime, and he certainly does some reprehensible things.
And you think all children committing crime should be killed immediately? Right?
No, I think they should all be forced into servitude for an older gangster. No, but, like, I think you make a decent argument. He's, like, the closest to being a morally upright character in the show, or at least
Vic.
he feels.
Vic is.
Yes, Vic.
Yeah.
He feels the most guilt over the bad things he does, even though he commits multiple murders over the course of the show, and, like, certainly by the end, he's a full blown gangster and, like, seems to be enjoying the lifestyle.
Who else did he murdered? Squid.
Well, I don't know. And they're in the when Link turns on Feng Zhao or whatever, he pops off some. I think he killed some Falcone goons.
He could have been shooting toes.
That's true. Yeah,
it's like just the toes, Vic, the toes.
But all that is to say, I like that everybody in this show. There's no 100% good character in the show.
Yeah.
They all exist on a spectrum, right? Like Sophia, like a lot of her bad actions are maybe slightly more justified, but she's also operating the whole show from a place of vengeance and betrayal, right? Like now Oz is operating from like ambition and a little bit of vengeance, but like she's not like trying to make the world a better place. Right?
No, she could have sold that property and given the money to the Brookside Children's Home to make sure Gia had a good run.
That's
but
right.
No, she just burned it down.
Also, John Speaks saying Vic rammed the dude with a car.
Oh, he did hit the dude with a car.
Yeah, that guy survived.
Self-defense.
We saw that guy like wiggling and screaming on the ground. So like, not technically a murder, though definitely an assault. Yeah.
My intramural football league. Oh God.
My pelvis.
Yeah, it's weird that it's almost kind of not a clear protagonist in a way, because I don't know if Oz changes over the course of the story. Like, his circumstances change, but it's not like his value changes. He doesn't make any kind of admission or confession or sacrifice of any kind. His relationship with his mom changes. But honestly, he just kind of gets what he wants. He gets to dollhouse her. So I honestly feel like this whole thing is like a Gotham morality play in a weird way. To where it's just like, this is just what happens with people who are driven to these violent extremes and just bad people in the city of Gotham. And we're just going to see what happens to them as they just make dark choices and either suffer or benefit from them. Because I was like, Kristen Milioti seems like in an interesting place to be a protagonist, but she just ends up exactly where she starts.
Right, but now she's actually justified in being in prison because she did murder her whole family. Now, I was talking with Berg about the show today, and like, I think we were kind of comparing the Penguin to other Disney Plus shows where it's like, you're giving these characters that exist in between movie projects. And usually your prerogative with these shows is like, you can do the show, but like it can't affect the movie so much that a person didn't watch the show, and if they walk into a movie, they're very confused, right? Maybe if you walked into the Marvels, you were confused by who Miss Marvel was if you'd never watched Miss Marvel, the TV show, right? But the Penguin basically ends where it begins, right? If you watch Batman 1 and Batman 2, as far as you know in your mind, the Penguin's in the same spot. His boss is dead. He's probably taking control. And Sophia, who you've never met, is in Arkham.
Well,
right?
he will have gone.
That way.
He will have gone from suits to tuxes.
Right.
That'd be the main change.
But you don't need to watch the show to understand that, right?
No,
if you're watching.
and the imperative that Matt Reeves gave to, is her name Lauren LaFranc, the showrunner, right? Was like, for the general premise of the show is there's some kind of gang war. Oz rises to be the kingpin of Gotham, right? Like, that's the end point you have to get to. You can choose to get there however you want, right? And this was her vision of how to get there. But like, yeah, that's not that different. He was kind of the last gangster left standing at the beginning of Batman.
We understand the dynamics a little more, in a much better way, and how much of a ruthless dude he is to get what he wants. And he'll be tap dancing on their graves. Like Ginger fucking Righteous.
Evan popping in again to say we want to thank Via for sponsoring us today. Via makes premium, federally legal cannabis products. This holiday season, unwind and recharge with Via. Whether you're enjoying a quiet evening at home or embracing the festive cheer, Via's premium THC and THC-free gummies will help you find your perfect holiday balance. I, for one, am looking forward to treating myself to an Elevate gummy on Thanksgiving and burrowing into a bowl of stuffing. I love stuffing, but not as much as I love burrowing. All of Via's products are grown indoors in state-of-the-art facilities and harvested at peak THCA levels to emphasize a natural aroma and flavor. They add strains to their selection every week, so there's always something new to check out. Via has THC and THC-free gummies, vapes, topicals, and drops, all of which are crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. You can trust them. Plus, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee, no medical card required. This holiday season, give yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 plus, check out the link to Via in our description and use the code BREAKROOM to receive 15% off. And after you purchase, let them know you heard about them from us, the Breakroom. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. This holiday season, enhance your everyday with Via. All right, popping out again. Back to you guys. Yeah, so let's talk about Vic for a second. Obviously, huge finale scene, just absolutely brutal.
I mean, that character was brutal the whole time.
Whole time.
Even episode 3, which begins
his origin story,
the flood.
Oh my
and like their
God.
choice. First of all, that looked incredible. It looked so good.
Yeah.
And the
kudos
choice,
to all the VFX on this show.
the choice to have us like. I mean, this show is constantly subverting stuff where it's like, when you meet Vic, you're like, oh, this is like a bad kid who's always been doing bad things. And then 2 episodes later, they show you like, no, he was like a pretty straight and narrow kid who wanted his family to have a little bit more. And his dad was like, but we got to keep doing the right thing. Don't hang out with Calvin because his friend's Squid and Squid sells drugs. And he's like, shut up, Dad. And he goes on the roof and he watches his whole family fucking get washed away in like kind of silence, right?
Yeah.
The way they did it was just so incredible. Then his main squeeze leaves on a bus, and you're kind of like, Vic, get on that bus, buddy, or you're gonna get beat up by Batman one day, or strangled to death by the ocean, by the river. And he doesn't get on the bus, and you're like, all right, I guess he's gonna stick around. And it was just like heartbreaking. And I'm so naive. I was like, yeah, they'll probably kill Vic. And then as the season went on, I was like, I don't know, maybe they'll keep him around. And we got so far into the final episode, and I was like, my boy's gonna make it, I think. And he didn't make it.
Can I ask,
brutal.
what do you think the significance of throwing his ID in the river was?
It's just cruelty,
Yeah.
right? He's swimming with the
Erasing him.
fishes like
Yeah.
his family.
Well, it's like,
just-
Oh, yeah.
you say like Oz has, the only thing, Oz not changing, I think the only change Oz made was that he truly was like, I cannot care about anyone or anything. And he keeps his mom alive, but I don't think he really cares about her. He only cares about how she sees him. And I think him not even keeping the ID to be like, hey, you know what? I'll never forget you, Vic. You taught me a lot. I'm sorry I had to kill you, but he tucks it away. Not even that. Vic is just another fucking dead kid in Gotham who will not be claimed because there's no one left in the city to claim him. His family is dead, and Gracie Ellis probably still on a bus because it takes a long time to get to LA.
Bless her heart. Hopefully she's
Bless her
thriving
heart.
wherever she ended
She's
up.
a TikTok star now. She's doing great. I hear she's auditioning for Cat's Eye. It's gonna be awesome.
Do you think he took the money from Vic's wallet? Is that purely an act of greed? Or is that
I think
like...
to make it look like a robbery.
Yeah.
So no one would like look into why was this kid killed. It was just like, kid got robbed. We have no idea who he is.
Strangled to death.
No one claimed his body. he goes in the John Doe pile at Gotham in a pauper's grave. Like so many people have done.
Yeah, it just feels very cruel to the character to give us a point of view episode and to show how difficult it was for him upon losing his family, and the fact that he's in the club selling the bliss and he is flashing back to this drowning, and just to have him end this way, like there is no comparison to Sopranos on this. Everyone who gets killed in Sopranos made their choices, and they weren't that empathetic or sympathetic.
I think,
hey, if you want to run a restaurant, that's what
Artie Bucco.
Don't run a restaurant.
Artie Bucco doesn't get killed. Like
no,
Adriana is kind of a heartbreaking character.
Well, and though I will say, like they only have 8 episodes. They don't have whatever 7 seasons like Sopranos did. But
give them 7 seasons.
Hey. That's right. Check in 9 years and we'll see. But I also think, like, if you want to make a character extra evil, I don't think that it was never really the stated goal to make Tony Soprano evil. He had a little bit more nuance, so he did a lot of terrible stuff. But, like, if you want to make a character extra evil, when they hurt people, it has to be people we care about. Otherwise, it doesn't land, right? Like, he could kill all the Falcone and Maroni goons in the world, and it doesn't necessarily make him a bad guy. This is another generic gangster, right? But, like, once he harms Vic, once he harms Sophia, people that we care about, like then it lands even more. It makes him that much worse, right?
Yeah. And it's like, Eve, who's a character, who's making her own decisions and is getting by in her own way. She's not safe with this dude. No. And that's even more tragic to me. And it's like, I don't know what Eve knew about Francis. I don't think Eve knew much about Francis at all. But like,
yeah,
it's just messy.
It seems like she did the homework. It's like
she got the hair right. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, she at least saw a photo.
She got the eyeshadow right.
I mean, it was Norman Batesy in the way he calls her Ma. I did a good job, didn't I, Ma?
Well, I mean, at the hospital, he's like, to Francis, he's like, I just want to hear you say you're proud of me, and then he makes Eve say that he's proud.
Even that shot, because she also has like a wig, because we'd seen her blonde most of the series, right? And she has the dark hair like his mom when she was young. Like that shot when he first walks from his mom's kind of hospital bed in that room in the penthouse and walks into the big room, and you just see Eve from far away. I was like, is this some kind of hallucination where he's picturing his younger mom or something like that? It took me a second to realize, like, oh, he's making his girlfriend cosplay as his mom.
Well, it's not the label girlfriend on it.
Okay.
I mean, they're just lovers at this point.
Whatever their relationship is.
Yeah. But just like, what a despicable
I did see, we'll come back, Evan, do some more questions, but I did see in the prompter a season 2. Now, obviously, loved the first season. Love the way it ends. Do we want to see a season 2? Presumably after the Batman 2?
Yeah, I do. I think there was so many unresolved, or just things that they were setting up for a second season from Selena Kyle writing the letter. And to me, like the biggest Easter egg that leapt out at me off the screen was the owls in the background of the courtroom. Oh yeah, the shapes of owls were everywhere. And I'm like, holy shit, are we going to see a shadow group come in here? And then you see Bella Ray, mayor-elect, and you see Councilman Grady come in. But it's like, they are firmly establishing that the Gotham of this universe is run by the history of the Court of Owls. Like, am I crazy?
No, I think people in the chat are definitely saying that, especially, regular chatter, Kobe-Wan Kenobi, is saying if finale shows that Oz wants to get into the political scene, so if he's going to be one of the main villains of Batman 3, like he said in an interview recently, could he be paired with the Court of Owls, who discovers or recruits Oz after he corrupts politicians, and that causes Batman to discover the court, very much noting the owl shapes in that courtroom.
The owl shapes, Oz sits behind the mayor's placard. There's also that moment he walks in and he looks over at a very old painting, and we were theorizing that could be what was it, Alan Wayne or one of the old Waynes who founded modern Gotham, but also a ancestor of the Cobblepotts was mayor of Gotham at one point. And it would be a fascinating story of a history he doesn't even know about his own family and how they were tied into Gotham, and you can then pull in the Court of Owls to all of that.
And what does the councilman say to him? If we're gonna do this, you have to appear straight. Right. You need and that's Kingpin in Marvel universe or
hey, I'm as straight as they come. I get my girlfriend to dress up like my mother and dance with me. Why don't I do the first dance at the mayor's ball, huh?
Milkman I Am asking, is this final episode setting up the Tim Burton run where Penguin runs for governor? Or is it governor or mayor of New York? But do you think that would be his ambition to take over
I don't think
Gotham?
so. I think the value of someone like him is owning a politician, not being a politician. I think he is comfortable where he is, and he likes having the councilman in his pocket, and he wants Bella Real in his pocket. I guess my question is, like, Bella Real was an agent of change. I think Don Mitchell knew what the history of Gotham was. He knew the game. I think this councilman knows the Court of Owls' influence. I don't think Bella does. So I think Bella is going to be a threat to the Court of Owls. I think this whole series, that's going to be what separates this side of the Matt Reeves Batman universe from what James Gunn is doing. I think James Gunn is going to go more kind of supernatural. He's going to have Clayface as a villain. It's going to be really fun. But I think this is doing a more grounded, like, history of Gotham, the architecture of the city. We had the Gotham Renewal Project. The Elliott Bridge is what they were driving over in this finale episode. And Thomas Elliott was part of the lineage of Hush, the villain Hush, who, like, with Thomas Wayne and the Wayne family built the city. And I think we're going to see in season 2 and in the Batman 2 a whole history of the Court of Owls and how they are corrupting the city. And I don't know if we're going to see Talon as a villain in the Batman 2, but I feel like it went from maybe a 10% likelihood to at least a 65% likelihood in the second movie. 100%. I mean, I felt so redeemed, guys. You know how hard I was predicting Court of Owls for
a lot of owl stuff.
There's a lot of owl imagery in the trailer.
The first one being about kind of the history of Gotham is important, and I think long tail, that is a story he wants to get into, because if you cut all the kind of supernatural villains out of the Batman story, right? Because even after that first movie, I was like, I can't see, like, Superman landing in this Gotham, right? It would just feel weird
it would be
to have a flying man show up. So it's like, how do you keep it grounded and tell those kind of weird political stories? This show, if they want to do more seasons of Penguin, fine. But this show makes me want, like, a Gotham PD show or like even like a Gotham City government show. Like, what is it like to govern this city?
Well, can I throw out, and presumably, we're not going to live in a world where we get 3 the Batman spinoff shows every year or something like that, and then maybe just one in between each film or something like that, as we've gotten. But if you only get one in between the Batman 2 and the Batman 3, Barry Keoghan's Joker series?
It's a weird one. I mean,
Can we watch 8 episodes of a Joker show? Might be tough.
Yeah.
Would we want just Penguin season 2, but we've got new players? Maybe it's not Sophia. Maybe he's interacting with other. There's new antagonists. It's the political. It's Court of Owls. It's whatever. Or Gotham PD or some other.
Do Selena Kyle. Bring her back. Get Zoe Kravitz back for a show.
HBO loves Zoe Kravitz. They've done multiple shows with her.
Yeah, if you focus another season of the show, but be more focused on Sophia and her story from this place forward, especially with Selena Kyle. Also, like, them setting up Gia in, like, Brookside Children's Home, which is, we couldn't find any reference to the comics anywhere. It seemed like they made up that institution. Maybe they want to do something with that, like a fresh new thing. It's not Arkham, it's not Brookside, or it's not the Blackgate. It's like a new entity, and it's like,
for
you
children?
can have some weird little kid in there who's great with plants. I don't know. A kid is
just got a real good green thumb, huh?
A little too cold.
Yeah. But it also already married and lost
a
his
kid
wife.
who loves Alice in Wonderland, but really likes to throw tea parties.
Yeah, there was a playground wedding, and then the wife got sick.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got to.
We were playing house, and she got a cold, and she had to go home early.
I will say, all the creatives behind this show have been doing a lot of press around the finale. Matt Reeves has done interviews. Lauren LaFranc, the showrunner, Colin Farrell. And it was interesting. The Hollywood Reporter, Matt Reeves, was asked a lot about how this kind of could connect to future The Batman films, right? Obviously, we're getting one in 2026 is the next The Batman. So that hasn't gone into production yet, but presumably they're ramping up. I'm sure he's working on a script or has a script.
Pattinson's doing crunches.
Oh, or not, or just quit eating. Who knows what he'll look like in that movie. But and he was asked, like, in watching this show, seeing the dailies, seeing what the creative team did with this show, did that change anything about your plans going forward? And he's like, I can't talk about any of the plans going forward, though I was very interested in this show as it develops and what they were able to do with these characters, because they were the origin story of the show is they weren't planning on doing a Penguin show, but seeing what Colin Farrell did with this character in the film,
he kind of stole the movie.
Yes,
everyone was talking about
it, and he so enjoyed the portrayal too. He was excited to do more with the character, so that inspired that. So you have to imagine, and Matt Reeves is getting asked about Sophia appearing in the next movie, etc. Like, there's enough time in between them that it could. That's also part of the trap of how Marvel sometimes does things, where they're, a show leads right into a movie, leads into a show. They don't always have time to see like what character really hit from this. And now let's give them their own property necessarily. Things are already moving right by the time something comes out. So I'm really interested to see how the popularity and the success of this show could continue to influence things going forward. Yeah.
Whoa, Evan getting blown into the screen to say we want to thank True Classic today for sponsoring our episode. We're getting close to that time of year when the ugly sweaters in our closets start feeling like good ideas again. But why do we have ugly clothes in the first place? I honestly have never understood that. Especially when True Classic makes having comfortable, good-looking clothes more affordable than ever. You never need the ugly clothes. True Classic sells t-shirts, hoodies, and jeans that are perfect additions to any wardrobe. They're super comfy, perfect for cold LA nights, which is probably just regular daytime for everywhere else. True Classic also has a ton of bundles and multi-pack options, so if you find a shirt you like, it's easy to double down and get your wardrobe that much more dialed in. True Classic's ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. You get some clean shirts just like this one, this clean white tee. Look at that. That's True Classic. Go to our exclusive link at trueclassic.com/breakroom to save. That's trueclassic.com/breakroom. Support our show and tell them we sent you. End the year with some holiday cheer thanks to True Classic.
One of our sponsors, I'm wearing a True Classic t-shirt right now. And it fits. Brandon, do you want to touch it?
Oh, my. So soft.
So classic?
So classic.
It's true. So true. So honest.
All right, so running through some of the questions from the audience here. How do you think Link will react now to Vic being dead? Asked IL. It seemed like he and Vic were growing a connection.
Yeah, he's going to be torn up. He's going to be
Is
pissed. He loves Vic. Link and Vic were like buddies.
Isn't the moral of this story, though, that they're all ambitious and, just want whatever will help them get ahead?
Yeah, but I think Vic gave Link the confidence to shoot his boss. And that's what's most important. When he punched Vic, he was like, I don't want to do this, buddy, but you got to keep it quiet up there.
Yeah.
So I did like that moment when Link calls up Vic and is like, hey, where's the Penguin right now? Where's Oz right now? And Vic is like, I don't know if I can tell this guy where Oz is.
That was good.
But they were friends.
Spidey Sensei asking, could Vic have survived if he just didn't say anything about family to Oz? Because, I don't think if he didn't say it.
That whole walk was done.
There's a reason they were by the river.
Yeah.
I mean, he was dead the minute the councilman goes, you gotta appear straight, right? Yeah. Or clean, whatever the line is, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's even like, I think just his mom, that whole thing with his mom really snapped whatever was left of Oz and his like humanity there. The fact that like his mom would never see him the same way ever again. Because even when like he's in the he's in the closet at the hospital stapling his gut up, which is just like kind of wacky when you think about it. And Vic comes in and Vic is like, and Oz is like, Sophia stabbed me. He says like Sophia did it, which is just so wild that he can't even in that moment be like, yeah, my mom fucking stabbed me, buddy.
Also, in the Matt Reeves interview in the Hollywood Reporter, he talked about they always knew Vic was going to die. Originally, that scene was scripted that in the kind of psychological torture scene between Sophia and Oz and Francis, right? She was going to manipulate Sophia would manipulate Oz into turning on Vic there. But they decided that actually isn't evil enough.
No.
It's much more evil for him to come to the conclusion 100% on his own. There's no like, imperative for him to do it in that moment.
He doesn't shoot him, he strangles him like the hangman.
Yeah, I'm always impressed by Oz's physical prowess in this show. Like he is a pretty heavy-set dude.
He's a strong man.
He takes a bottle stab to the gut and is able to like get his mom to the hospital
and shoot Marcus Wise through the back of the head on the way.
Oh my God, can we talk about that? Just I mean, that guy went out on a high. The glee he felt.
Right through the eye.
What a kill.
Incredible.
What a kill.
So to go from that to
Yeah.
walking into the hospital without like bleeding everywhere and stapling your
Yeah.
how did you find
a jagged cut
an
from a
unattended hospital closet?
Well, they were busy, right?
if anything, they're going to that closet more than for supplies.
you know, maybe he put up the lock on. I don't know.
He had to poke his head out the door to see what room to tell Vic to meet him in.
Oh, yeah, good
like
point.
how did
Oz, I've checked 16 security supply closets already. Which one are you on? I'm on the purple floor. I don't know what to tell you. Just find a fucking office.
I parked in Goofy B. Okay?
So how did he get Vic in a headlock so fast? I mean, Vic, I feel like could take Oz.
I know,
Vic's
Vic's a
strong
young
guy.
guy.
He already had the arm around him, right? He was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh,
He's
we're
already
buddies.
there, and he
you
went
know.
right to the trachea.
Why can't he just like get him in the gut gash?
Vic doesn't want to live.
I mean, also, well, no, that's not true. But
Vic gave up.
it shows the difference between their two characters, though. Because, like, you know, if it were reversed and Vic were trying to choke out Oz, he'd get an eye gouge, he'd get a nut punch, all this kind of stuff, you know? Yeah.
I think Oz is very strong. In the Batman, he kind of puts up a little bit of a fight.
He pops out of the restraints in the Club Monroe sequence.
Yeah, he's a
right?
tough guy. He's a big, strong, burly man. We've seen him naked. He got a big build, you know what I mean? He's a tough guy. He can handle himself. He's probably doing a little coke, you know? He's
There we go.
keyed up a little bit.
Yeah.
He took his one-shot energy check.
Yeah,
on
he's
the
in that
supply.
supply closet. He probably took some uppers or something. Some smelling salts.
I mean, he was tipping back some bourbon there by the river.
Oh, yeah,
It was
that's
good little
true.
bourbon.
It's
I do like that Marcus Wise, you know, he was still sticking to drops. He didn't transfer over to Bliss.
Yeah.
He's a
couldn't
company
handle it.
man.
Company
He's stick
man.
with his boss's product.
One of the old heads. Spidey Sensei 72 asking, was Theo Rossi's character a complete waste of time?
No.
Should he have just been Jonathan Crane instead of some random no name?
No,
Very
he's a random
interesting.
no name, and I love it.
That's
Yeah.
important.
Right, and
yeah.
he's not a random no name. His character is named, and that's
Yes.
what's great about this show.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
not everyone has to be a named DC
And
character.
the show is not one of those like, you know, this guy from the comic books. There's actually very little of that. He was a character that just had to exist for the show, and now will continue to exist in this world.
Yeah, I mean, like, imagine if he had been revealed, right? That's like, it's Jonathan Crane, whatever, it's Scarecrow. Like, that would have just taken away so much focus from the immediate story. Like, that is something I think Matt Reeves was really, and probably Lauren LaFranc as well, really concerned about with going to this. So, like, no Batman, right? No Batman, just like, let's focus on Oz and exactly what you were saying earlier, how he gets to be the Kingpin. Or,
I mean, really,
yeah.
until the last 5 minutes of the finale with the Selena Kyle reference in
Yep.
the bat signal, we get almost no reference to like canonical
Yeah.
bat characters, period, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry Marvel has done this to you. But just
I know, right? Yeah.
Think about like Jack Duquesne, Swordsman, and Hawkeye. That I feel like is a complete waste of time because that character has a far more interesting story in the comics, and they just shoved him into a Hawkeye show and just named him Jack Duquesne because everyone has to be somebody.
Yeah.
And then they don't do anything with the character.
Yeah.
So that's what the standard has been. Penguin has been a breath of fresh air because they don't do that.
And it's
Yeah.
also in this show, like, you know, after kind of meeting that character and spending a few episodes, you like, you don't know if he's good or bad. You don't know if he's
Yeah.
gonna live or die. You don't know. There's a lot, and if he was a known canonical character, that would have removed some of those.
I love
mysteries.
that, like, you know, when the mushroom showed up, part of me was like, is this the, like, kind of main story that, like, some nefarious figure in Arkham is trying to get these mushrooms out on the street, and so they helped get Sophia out of prison so that she can help spread the drugs around. And it was like, fuck that. That's not important. Like, what's important is Oz here, and, like, kind of him and Sophia's relationship. And, like, Dr. Rush is, like, I use the term red herring, but I don't think it was a negative thing. It was like, this is an interesting character. They have this ability to, like, get into someone's psyche. You know, could they become something more? But instead it was like, no, he was kind of obsessed with Sophia, helped get her out of prison, left his job, joined up with her, got tied to a chair, got beat up a little bit, and was like, actually, I like being in control. And when she wound up back in prison again, he was like, I'll take my old job back. And now I'm in charge of her again. And it was kind of this weird little thing, and it was never more than that.
I think it's not that competitive to get jobs in Arkham Asylum if you've got a medical degree. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
they always have a lot of openings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with the travel nurse phenomenon? Do you know about this?
No.
Especially hospitals, especially maybe in not as good neighborhoods, have a tough time having enough full-time nurses. So they're often like staffed by like up to 50% travel nurses that are basically the nurse equivalent of temps. And a lot of these are like younger nurses that travel the country and they get to, you know, go to a new hospital every 6 weeks or something like that. Is that relevant to Penguin? Probably not. But
I found it interesting.
Hey, shout out to my cousin Connie, who was a travel nurse for a long
You know,
time.
I think anytime when you are, you know, you're watching a Batman project, and the word Arkham is very triggering, right? And when it's like, who are these doctors that are, because there's a throwaway line where she's like, you know, where Dr. Rush leaves, and she says something like, there were 2 other doctors after you. And it was like, are they going to be someone? And it's like, no, they're just, Arkham's going through doctors because they're all doing a bad job.
We never even find out why she really got let out
Right.
of Arkham.
Right.
We know
just know that
Alberto was advocating.
Alberto and Dr. Rush worked together to help get her out.
Yeah, but like we never even know that it's implied that there's no grand conspiracy about that.
I do think it's possible that the character of Theo Rossi's character, rather,
Yes.
Dr. Rush, Dr. Julian Rush, might have been kind of structurally inserted into the finale as a way for Sophia to learn the truth about what Francis knows. Because otherwise, Francis would never confess this.
Sure, you needed a way to get
You needed
into
a way to
her mind.
hypnotically do some therapy. So I can see if that might be one little. It's not an imperfection, but it is just a little.
Yeah,
I
so
want
they work their way backwards,
their
and they're
way
like,
backwards.
what kind of technology can he use to?
Yeah.
I want just one shot of Francis on the couch, like, and then I go into the closet and I put on my dress, and then I come out, and then I go to the doorway and I stand like this, right? And then Ozzy, he's over there, and I'm like, Ozzy, we're going dancing tonight, Ozzy. And they're like, okay, can we flash forward a little bit? Okay, and then we get a taxi cab, and the cab smells weird.
I ordered an old fashioned. I got Ozzy Shirley
Pick
Temple.
it up, Francis. It'll bet all night. And so it's Rex.
The
is
song
over
they're
there.
playing is
And now it's Wednesday. I sleep until 3:30 in the afternoon. You gotta pick it up, Francis. We're gonna sing too long.
Dream number 1. I'm back in grade school.
You gotta do it for me, Ozzy. Don't I deserve to be happy?
Oh god.
I'll be tap dancing on your grave. Like Ginger fucking Rogers.
As we start to wrap up here, I'd love to ask what your guys' favorite scenes were. I just wanted to highlight my favorite scene, just jumping in real quick. The scene right at the end where, Sophia is like ready to die. She's like, Oz walks her out and he's like, it's easier to do this, blah, blah, blah. But just the execution of that scene, some absolutely
good.
beautiful work across the crafts,
Camera work,
across
the lighting, the performance. Yes.
Everything is just so stellar in that moment. And then to have the spotlight come down, and I was like,
genuinely
there it
not
is.
not
Yeah.
knowing what that is,
Yep.
not expecting that.
Yeah.
I they had said this, there had been so many reports as the show was going on that they loved the character and would like to put it into, future Batman projects. And so I thought Sophia had plot armor, but even in that moment, I was like, are they going to kill this character? Like, was that all a subversion to like trick us? I don't know if it's my favorite scene, but I kind of just am blown away by the Sophia story of like, she wasn't the hangman. They give her, her episode I know doesn't have a lot of Oz, but like maybe one of my favorites of this show, because it was just like, they show how you make a villain. She's a villain by the end of that. She gives that great speech. She gasses her family. And then in a very un-Batman-like way, she's like, actually, I don't want this. Right? She sees what she does to Gia, and she's ready to walk away from it all. She gets the villain arc on a Batman story and decides, I don't want to be the villain. I want to walk away from this, and I'm fuck this city. I'm out of here. And she can't get away. And like that whole arc was so good to me. And like I said, the final battle being a psychological battle of laying your cards on the table of the truth about your family, because she couldn't do it with her family, so she's forcing the Cobblepots to do it, and Oz won't even do it. It's just so good. Like her arc was like my favorite thing about this show, and that's not to disparage anything else about the show because it was so much fun.
We actually haven't talked as much about the Colin Farrell performance. Just a very quick moment, and then that heartbreaking, the final scene with Vic where he's choking him out. Like as he like finishes and drops his body down, like he has a smile.
Oh, dude, his
like
face.
almost a rictus smile, and it's like, and it's you know, maybe as much like strain and like emotion, but it's like, oh, that's the most evil face we've seen from him, and I don't even know that it's like a smile of joy, but like again, Colin Farrell acting through all of that shit, throughout the show, incredible.
Was it the same smile that he let off after killing Alberto in the opening scene?
A little bit of that, like, because he's kind of almost like laughing, but just like very happy with himself.
A little bit of shock.
But he's like, I got to be happy with this decision because I've made it. So the decision is made. Yeah.
What's your favorite scene?
Oh, I just love the scene where they're gonna cut off Francis's finger and everyone is just being honest with each other, but Cobb just can't say it. Oz is just like, he's still in denial. And
he's like, you're confused, Mom.
Yeah.
So
I just thought that was like such a
She
cool
got the Louis
climax.
bodies.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Jessica chiming in here over Slack. Jessica's working on some videos, but you should definitely check out all the breakdowns she's been doing on the New Rockstars channel. Jessica's saying her favorite scene is Eve dancing as his mom, which we've talked about just now, but it was
so creepy.
Haunting. It's so
your
creepy.
scene with Eve and Sophia was so good.
Yes.
Yes.
Just so good.
Oh yeah, it's a great. That's a great scene.
Eve was probably only in half a dozen scenes in the show.
So
and just,
impactful.
Yeah, each one was so impactful.
And like very well written and just like, she had the one up on Sophia and just very smart writing all around. I mean, everyone did an incredible job in the show, from Johnny Vitti to Marcus Wise to Francis.
Johnny
you know, like
Vitti?
Johnny Vitti? I kind of love
I
Johnny
would say
Vitti.
some of the Falcones were a little one-dimensionally. I mean, they didn't get a lot of screen time, so
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I like Johnny Ziti a little bit more.
Oh, delicious, huh?
Boy. Sophia, you can't do this. You gotta use ricotta. I'm telling you.
He's always baked.
Now, Johnny's ziti is what John Costa makes when it comes to a potluck. But,
I kind of
Doesn't bring plates though. You gotta
I kind of also love that moment too when Oz, the Maroni capo's been captured by the Falcones. He's tied up in the basement, and Oz is down there to like get him out of there. And Vic calls and is like, "Hey, so I couldn't break into Johnny's car to plant the diamonds." And he's like, "All right."
Oh god, dude, that's
And the guy's like, "Oz, no!"
What does he say? Sometimes plans change. So good.
I mean, there are so many good lines that Colin Farrell gives that, the writing on the show was excellent. I don't know if he improvised some of them, but like just every night, from the first scene when he breaks into Carmine's safe and pulls out the pictures and he goes like, beautiful, 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 to himself. There's no one else in the room. It's just like, just eating up like so many scenes and like, so many back and forths with Vic that were just great.
Well, and
when he's like, "Vic, why'd you do I told you just the finger and the head. Why'd you gotta do the whole body? That's so weird."
God.
I also love, this portrayal of the Penguin is different than a lot of the comic book and obviously the previous film version. But I love too, because he's a character that's so associated with the top hat and tails, right? And the cane.
Monocle,
And I love that, like, we kind of get there at the end, obviously those final scenes, but that even Oz is wearing a costume. He is a poor guy from the streets who thinks this is what success looks like, right? He's wearing, this is not him, but he thinks this is what he needs to wear if he's going to be accepted into the halls of power. And I love that, just such a nice twist, because there was a lot of this story was about class, right? And like the kind of the upper class, like gangsters versus like the henchmen. And so like, that's him wearing the garb of the upper class, but it doesn't fit him right.
All right, we do need to wrap up though. I wanted to ask this question. We were talking about great TV shows this year, right? When we started the stream, McJack Attack haven't watched it, but said Shogun. I know Brandon's a big Shogun fan.
Was incredible.
Shogun might be the better series. It's
Also,
incredible.
I am Iron Man 10 was asking, what is something I should watch after enjoying The Penguin besides Sopranos? I do like this idea that, you buy in for the IP, but you're suddenly here for something much bigger.
I've got 5 suggestions for you.
Whoa, 5.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to go over them? Okay.
I've got 19 suggestions for you, because this is one of my crime gangster. It's one of my favorite genres, and like we're lucky. It's an often produced thing. Obviously, Sopranos, Breaking Bad. If you haven't already, they're worth your time. They're great. Some like lesser seen stuff. So Matt Reeves actually cited the Bob Hoskins portrayal of a gangster in this British movie called The Long Good Friday. It's from the like late 70s. It's about like Bob Hoskins. It like physically kind of looks like Colin Farrell in this movie. It's on streaming. I think you can even maybe watch it on Max. That's a good one. It's kind of also morally, corrupt and shady like this one. There's also a great Australian series from the last 10 years called Mr.
Unicorn?
Is that what it's called?
Shirt.
Mr.
Shark.
Mr. In Between.
Mr. In Between. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a great, it's like it's even more grounded than this show. It's like a very
yeah.
realistic portrayal of like kind of a gangster hitman who has like family issues and stuff like that. But it's like, I think there's only 2 seasons. It's produced by Joel Edgerton, I think. Really good show.
cool.
Do you guys have suggestions?
Boardwalk Empire.
Yes.
Everyone from The Sopranos either went to Mad Men or Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
Tim Van Patten was one of the big directors from Sopranos and has directed some great films as well, but basically ran Boardwalk Empire, incredible show. And it feels like kind of a, it's 1920s Atlantic City, so it kind of shows you the origin of the 5 families, and it kind of feels a bit like that. Everyone recommends Breaking Bad, and it's incredible. Better Call Saul. That is a show that, like, not enough people have given their time to,
it's
and
really good.
it might be better than Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
It might be better
It
than
doesn't
Breaking Bad.
rely on the ultra violence that Breaking Bad relies on a lot of.
Yeah, there's it's just character work the way Penguin is, and Ozark. I think Ozark might be the best Netflix series.
Also has a lot of that
It's so
vibe
good.
of like characters getting into impossible situations and
How
finding
do they work their
how they
way
get out of it. I'll say like similar a show that's on right now. I think the second season is wrapped or almost wrapped. The Old Man. It's a little bit of a different vibe. It's a little bit more spy, espionage, whatever. But again, a great character portrayal, fun reveal. Excellent, very well written. So if you dig like the writing style of this, I think you'll like that.
Also, if you enjoyed this show, I would check out Happy Feet, March of the Penguins. Pretty good. Got a lot of penguin content.
Yeah, so those 2
Pretty
good ones.
Rio.
Surf's Up. That's got a lot
Dude,
in it.
Surf's Up is so good though. Surf's Up is like legitimately so
Wait,
good.
which one has Robin Williams as the voice? Is that
Surf's
Happy Feet
Up,
or
I
Surf's
think.
Up?
I think it's
I think that was Surf's Up
Oh, okay.
Is Robin Williams in Surf's Up?
or Happy Feet. One or the other. I don't know.
I think he was dead by then.
Yeah. I think
He is.
No, Surf's Up was
he
like
did one of. He
early
did
on.
voice in one of them.
Anyway, everybody go watch Surf's Up.
Yeah, or also, please, if you're watching this on YouTube, throw some good recommendations. Maybe some deeper cut gangster crime films or series that maybe people haven't heard of. I personally will be scanning the comments. I love those things.
If
so.
you haven't watched Peaky Blinders is a lot of fun crime, ultra violence. A lot of smoking, a lot of drinking. If you enjoyed that.
If you thought the show wasn't morally bankrupt enough, Sexy Beast, starring Ben Kingsley and Ray Winstone, is a great, very dark English gangster movie as well. Yeah.
But if you like Colin Farrell stuff, In Bruges is a good
Ooh,
one.
yes.
There's some Martin McDonagh
And
classics.
Brendan Gleeson from The Joker too. It's a little bit of a
yeah.
And in Banshees of Inisherin.
I think get to Banshees of Inisherin and we'll have a real conversation.
You like Colin Farrell, Minority Report. A lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
A little Spielberg return.
SWAT.
Phone booth. Watch a little phone booth.
Ooh, yeah.
Colin Farrell, one of our best working actors.
He's good.
Yeah. And if you like Kristen Milioti, How I Met Your Mother. Spoiler.
Oh yeah, Palm Springs.
Palm Springs legitimately, yeah, very good.
Colin Farrell was in Fantastic Beasts.
Oh, that's right.
Played Graves before Johnny Depp melted his face and took over.
Should have just left him as the character.
Should have just left
Should've
Colin
left
Farrell.
him.
And Colin Farrell was in Saving Mr. Banks. He played her dad in
Oh,
the
yeah.
flashbacks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. He's had a great career.
Yeah. had a great
Dumbo,
career.
live action Dumbo.
Live action Dumbo.
Come on, everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
Hey, Dumbo, I'm so sorry your mom can't be here anymore, but I can't have any elephants on this fucking
Oh, if you ever see an elephant fly.
Just throws Dumbo's feather into the river. Walks away.
Waddles.
That pachyderm ain't gonna be flying no more. Well, that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube and give us a follow on Twitch. where we do videos like this live. Make sure you follow at Breakroom and R on all our social channels.
Hey, I know it's late in the show and we probably already lost everybody, but the Breakroom is getting dangerously close to 100,000 subscribers.
So unsubscribe quickly.
They're all gonna unsubscribe, please.
Evan has threatened to do some wild stuff when we hit 100,000.
That's
I won't
true.
even name them now.
Yeah.
But trust me when I say there will be some wild stuff if we hit 100,000.
You might be in fear of some fingers getting cut off.
Jesus.
You might be.
Woohoo!
You might be.
Hey!
Oh, mama.
Mama. Hey, mama, you're confused. I didn't kill my brothers, mama. Don't even worry about it. I was just singing those blues.
Oh, my mama can only count to 9.
See you later.
Bye.